All right, Chapter 3, Cell Structure and Function. In this chapter, we're going to go over the basic principles of cell theory, and we're going to talk pretty extensively about how the surface area to volume ratio can limit cell size. So to start off, there was a detailed study of the cell in the 1830s, and from that work, came what was known as the unifying concept in biology. It originated with the work of biologists Schleiden and Schwann in 1838 and 1839, and ultimately what they came up with was the cell theory, the idea that all living things are composed of cells, all cells come from pre-existing cells because cells are self-reproducing, and thus cells are going to be the basic unit of structure and function in organisms. So all living things can be broken down to cells, and cell is sort of the basic unit of life. At the cellular level, we have all of those characteristics of life: the ability to respond, the ability to reproduce and grow, the ability to maintain homeostasis. All of those different things, all those different characteristics of life are present at the cellular level. So although cells range in size, they are generally very, very small. Because of their small size, the biological structures can really only be viewed through microscopes, which magnify those visual images. So I want to ask you, why are those cells so small? Well, cells are super tiny because cells use their plasma membrane, that's the coating around the outside of the cell, so that would be this region right around here on the outside of the cell, to exchange materials such as nutrients and waste with their environment. So the larger the surface area, the more efficiently the cells can exchange nutrients and waste. It's kind of like having a really large lung capacity, or a very, large stomach. The larger your stomach, the more food you can take in. The larger your lung capacity, the more air you can take in, and the faster the exchange. And so it's all about surface area to volume ratio. And I really want you guys to understand this concept because it's going to come back to us again and again and again. So to kind of help explain that, here is a diagram to kind of explain surface area to volume ratio. What we have here is 1 4-centimeter cube, 2 8-centimeter cubes, and 64 1-centimeter cubes. When we have all of these, or each one of these has a total volume of 64 centimeters. So volume is simply height times width times length times the number of cubes. So it's either going to be 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, or 8, or we have 8 cubes, so that would be 8 2-centimeter cubes, so 2 times 2 times 2 times 8, or 64 1-centimeter cubes, 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 64. So that's how we determine our total volume. In all 3 cases, our volume is going to be 64. However, surface area is height times width times number of sides times the number of cubes. So the total surface area for a 1 4-centimeter cube is 96 centimeters. That's like the surface area of this side plus the surface area of this side plus the surface area of this side plus the surface area of this side, and so on and so forth for all those sides. The surface area for 8 2-centimeter cubes is 192 centimeters. But the surface area for 64 1-centimeter cubes is 384. Although we have the exact same volume between the very large cell and the many, many small cells, same volume, we have significantly more surface area for the very small cells. So the surface area to volume ratio is going to be 1.5 to 1 for the large cube, but for the smaller cubes, we have a 6 to 1. We have way more surface area to volume ratio. And you can kind of think of it like those Reese's peanut butter cups. I'm not a big fan of peanut butter, especially not peanut butter and chocolate. So I just have to take my sister's word for it. But she loves those Easter eggs that come out around Easter time, those Reese's eggs. And the reason why she loves those way more than the smaller Reese's Pieces or the smaller Reese's peanut butter cups. And why is that? It's the exact same recipe. It's the same chocolate. It's the same peanut butter. But the main difference is the surface area to volume ratio. Those eggs are much larger, and so they have much more peanut butter to chocolate. If peanut butter's the inside, chocolate's the outside. Those large Easter eggs have a lot more peanut butter to chocolate. as opposed to the itty bitty ones, which have a much more chocolate to peanut butter, much more outside compared to inside. So you can kind of think of this surface area to volume ratio as chocolate to peanut butter. What we want to do is maximize the outer coating and minimize the inner stuff in terms of desirability for passing materials back and forth. So like I said, the surface area to volume ratio requires that cells be small. The smaller the cell, the larger the surface area to volume ratio, the more efficient that cell is going to be. So very large cells have a surface area relative to volume, in large cells, the surface area relative to volume decreases, which decreases the efficiency of transporting materials into and out of the cell. With small cells, we have a larger surface area to volume ratio. This is going to be super advantageous for exchanging molecules. We have a much higher chocolate to peanut butter ratio, so we're going to have a much higher efficiency at transporting materials into and out of the cell. So there we go. That's it for this section. Make sure that you can summarize the cell theory, state its importance to the study of biology, and then relate how cell size relates to its function. Make sure you spend a little bit of time going over that surface area to volume ratio.